Just fix it in post.
Okay, this is a career.
Things like creative directors and approach.
Wow. Fucking A. I am absolutely there.
Clients wanting more for less.
Dude.
This mix of creativity and technology.
Tweet heard around the world. People were freaking out.
Welcome to Just Fix It in Post. Industry insights straight from the source. I'm your host, Sean Rice, and welcome.
Today's episode's a little different. I walk through the remains of a home with someone who has dedicated his entire life to shaping the future of photography and imaging. An educator, a mentor, and a friend I've known since my earliest days at Art Center. He was there for me in my first photo shoot, stood beside me as a groomsman at my wedding, and even documented the birth of my first child. Now he's facing a profound loss. His home, his parents' home, both destroyed at the Eaton fire in Altadena. As he takes me through what's left, we talk about the memories, the aftermath, and the impact on the community. This is a conversation about resilience, loss, and what it means to rebuild. My guest today is Photo and Imaging Department Chair at Art Center College of Design, Everard Williams.
Here we are.
This shit's crazy.
Yeah, dude, you know, it's...
How many times have you been back?
How many times have I been back?
Yeah.
This is probably my third or fourth time.
Right.
I have not started searching or doing anything here. I did a little bit at my parents' house with my folks, just looking at trying, you know, there's a few things that they wanted to try and find, but yeah, this is the first time. I mean, it's the first time I've actually brought equipment to maybe do some sifting through some stuff. I don't know that I'm going to do any sifting today, but I thought I might just bring some stuff just in case I needed to or wanted to. But come take a tour.
So where was this? They just left it here?
No, it was attached to this. Unfortunately, it was taped.
Right. Crazy.
Once upon a time, it was up here. You know, it's crazy because now there's a lot of things that I noticed that I just took for granted before. It's like the foundation and how the backyard slopes and all this kind of stuff, and like this front wall here was obviously the wall that was up here, but it collapsed, and underneath it is the roof and the floor. And so there's all that stuff before you even get to the point of getting down to the dirt. So there's a lot of stuff that I would like to sift through, because there's like, you have an idea and a remembrance of some of the things that were there. And getting through all this stuff, it's gonna be a lot of fucking work.
Right.
And then when you're actually here, you walk in there, you remember how big the spaces were, but when it's torn down to actual rubble, the footprint actually feels smaller when there's nothing here than when it is that you actually have the volume of space that was here, like the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and the 3 bedrooms and stuff like that. And you go, how did all that fit in here? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Were you close with your neighbors?
Not really, because they had just moved in. There was a young family with, I think they had one child. They had just moved in. They were renting this place. So, you know, I don't know where they are. I don't have their number. The neighbors across the street where the boards are on the house, they had recently bought that house. They'd probably been there no more than probably 18 months or so. The house, I think, is largely okay, but the backyard and the garage burnt down, and the house just next to it, that's fully standing and fully intact, he stayed and he protected his house. So he made sure it was constantly watered. And so he was able to make sure that his house is still there. But, you know, most of us evacuated. And so we weren't here to protect our house. And the winds and the firestorm, it was, you know, there's nothing you could do. Or I shouldn't say there's nothing you could do. There was, the only way that you could have saved your house is if you were here to fight off the firestorm. Because the fire department was completely overwhelmed with the quantity of fires.
Right.
So there's no way that they could be called on to kind of come here and help you out.
What was this stuff?
Stuff that fell. And so there was some stuff sitting up here. I don't know where all of it came from. Hard hat from a job that I was on.
This was your office, right?
This was my office. Yeah, a lot of paper in here, a lot of books, a lot of stuff like that.
Because you had a pretty big library, right?
I had a really huge library. Some of it I transferred up to my office at school. Probably 2/3 of it was still here. And so a lot of those really white ashen pieces over here are some of the books that just are reduced to pure ash. This is where the bookshelf was, you know, and if you, I'm trying to pick up, you know, it's just done. You know, nothing even worthy, you can't even really pick it up. You know, don't know what that was. So, but you know, I wonder, buried deep in there, are there things that still are at least a portion of what they used to be, as opposed to just reduce the complete ash? It's going to take some time to really begin to sift through it, because paper's flammable, so I don't expect much to be there. Not much at all. I'm sure there will be some things in there that I can, you know, make images of.
Right. So what's your plan with the photos?
Certainly I want to create some images, because I think that there's something visually interesting here. But the other part is, I'm a photographer, so what I do is I make pictures. My core is always making pictures of things that most people might deem as not beautiful, not appropriate, or ugly, or whatever. It's in keeping with how I see the world and find beauty in unexpected places for me to kind of dig through and find, hopefully, beauty here to make a body of work based on what I'm able to excavate. I'm hopeful, but you know, when I come in, I kind of just go through and touch some of this stuff. I'm like, don't know that there's much there. It looks like it was just burnt to the very bottom, but a lot of that's going to be dependent on how everything caved in upon itself and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't look like much. So when I was at my parents' house, I found some beautiful things to kind of make pictures of, so that was encouraging. So I think a lot of it is just really kind of getting in and sifting through, identifying those things, and making a photograph that seems to be, that is visually interesting, that's representative of the devastation, but is beautiful enough that maybe someone might actually consider it as a piece of art that they might want to hang in their home, commemorate the thing, or something along those lines. So yeah, and I'm interested in anything, right? You know, so you saw the plastic containers that were up there that were melted that you took a picture of.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things I think are extremely beautiful. I've decided that I want to give myself like at least one day a week formally, like Friday will be my mental health day. I will come and do my mental health work here and go through and sift through shit and find any remnants of what the history was from this house. We'd been here since 1995. So we've been here a minute. Only house that my kids have known. At least there's a lot of family memories that are here. Even if the house burned, the DNA of our family being here is still implanted here. And I really do believe that. So that's largely the impetus for me to want to clear and rebuild, because the essence of our family being here is not going to go away. And then we continue with something better and more beautiful and stronger and all those kind of cool things that, you know, that you get from this kind of mass devastation. It's like, you know, I had a lot of stuff here, and now it's all gone. So I'm reduced down to like the very essence of what I have or what I need in order to live day to day, and it allows me to readjust what it is that I need in order to kind of survive. What it is, you know, what are the things that are truly important to me? And now those are things that are more than just stuff. It's stuff that has to have meaning for me as a person, and not stuff that I collect to say that I have or show people that I have, or whatever the case may be. So it's hard, for sure. And every day is different. Some days I'm feeling really good. Like, man, as tragic as this was, man, it's a great way to begin to start fresh. Maybe. It's a pain in the ass. It's going to be a fucking hassle. But my kids and I have talked about finding the good in all of this stuff. The beauty in it. You know, like, this is amazingly beautiful to me. You know, I will make a beautiful picture with just that piece. So it's looking for things that most times people will walk right by.
What do you think about the most?
Strangely enough, I think less about the past and more about what a future might be. I have moments when I certainly think about the past. Almost a week ago, I was talking with my girls, and we were talking about a particular photograph that I had made that was in the living room. That was a picture of my ex-wife when she was pregnant with my first. It's just a beautiful photograph of her standing on like an apple box inside a studio. The lighting was cool. And that was completely gone. And then on top of that, I realized the film that I could print from in order to recreate that's gone too. Like, so I just melted down, dude. I just broke down, like, you know, it's like those things I can't get back, I can't make. And about, I don't know, three minutes into my hardcore boohoo, I realized that some of my old portfolios I had taken up to school as examples to show students, right, of work that I've done and what portfolios might be able to be constructed like, or what we constructed them like in the past, and what those things, how relevant they were for us at the time, and how things have changed, all that kind of stuff. And I realized that I have an image of that in that portfolio that I will now scan and recreate. So I felt like, okay, well, I haven't lost everything, but there is a substantial amount of things that I lost that it will be impossible to ever get back. So, I mean, that ties into the future. It's like, I know that I can't get those back. I know those memories I have in my head, and I will reflect on those memories. I will probably cry about them from time to time. But, you know, coming here and making work that is about this whole experience allows me to begin a new kind of body of work that I will make sure is protected in a way that, you know, is around for generations, right? So, yeah, new plan, new thing. But yeah, it's forced me to rethink everything, because all the stuff that I now own, I can put in 2 bags, and that's what I have. And I'm starting to get comfortable with the idea, like, do I need more than 2 bags of shit? You know, what is it that I really need to have, and what do I want to put value and purpose in, and how do I want to move all that stuff forward? So, and I think my kids are in various stages of the same thing. We've talked about, like, this is an opportunity for a ground zero rebuild and improvement on all the things that we want to really improve upon, and so we're really looking forward to doing that. I think that I was able to, and my oldest daughter were able to, release the catastrophic fire damage to the house earlier than my youngest, because we came back and we actually saw the house on fire. And so when you see it in that condition, and you know that there's nothing that you can do to save it, then you can kind of go, all right, when I come back, there's not going to be anything here, as opposed to hoping that the house is going to be there and then come back and be the shock that it didn't make it, you know? So I think in some ways that's helpful for me. I put closure on this thing really pretty quickly. And now, you know, the effort is to understand what a rebuild is and go through the process of making a rebuild happen and make it better than what it was before. That's the goal, and we'll, you know, it's going to take a minute. You know, as you've used the camera to kind of show kind of just the devastation just in the surrounding adjacent lots and stuff, this is probably at least 75% of Altadena. So the devastation is massive, which puts a whole bunch of constraints on how quickly everybody's going to be able to build safely, clear all the toxic waste out of here, and then clear the site so that it can be rebuilt and get it evaluated, so you know how you're going to do it next and get all that stuff, you know. And I think that I won't be here for at least another 2 years, probably.
How far are you from the base of the mountain over there?
We are probably, if we were to go over the lake and go straight up lake, we're probably about 2.5 miles from the base of the mountain.
Because you have literally houses right behind you over there. Like, what is that, like the next block over?
I mean, this right, like this right here?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is, these lots, the back ends adjoin. So there's a street just over there. And so you can see that our house burned and this house burned, but the houses across the street, most of them look like they're still standing. There may be some on that other side of that street that are still upright.
Right.
So, you know, it in some ways it's frustrating because the fire is a random thing when you have winds that are up to 100 miles an hour, and you don't get to dictate where the embers fly and what they land on that's going to be combustible. So, yeah, there's a lot of, it seems sporadic. It seems like, you know, the fire had its own idea about what it wanted to do and where it wanted to go. But man, it was unfucking believable, bro. Unfucking believable. But we'll make something good come out of it. That's for damn sure. That's the process that I'm actually really excited about. It's like, what's the new shit look like? What can we do that is long-lived, beautiful, sustainable, better than what it was before? Establishes the Williams family here from a generational standpoint as well. That's the stuff I think about now. It wasn't until this happened my dad kind of calculated just how much time my parents and I and my brother had lived here in Altadena. Me and my parents more specifically, because my brother now lives up in the Bay. But we've been here for 55 years, part of Altadena community, and I've always talked about how amazing the place it is because it's quiet when you want to be quiet, and then you can go down into Pasadena or into LA and have all the excitement that you want, but then be able to come back and have some solitude. It's just a beautiful community, diverse community. People on the street are great people. We've been here long enough to watch them come and go. Yeah. It's a place worth coming back to. For sure.
What do you think the hardest part's going to be?
The hardest part. The process is the process, but that's yet to be fully fleshed out. Where you are in the queue to kind of get your stuff resolved and cleaned up. So I have little control over when the EPA comes through or the Army Corps of Engineers come through and go through the site and remove toxic waste. How they determine what's toxic, I don't know that I know. And then after that, the county will come through and then they will do the final cleanup. And given the amount of devastation, I can imagine that in and of itself is going to take at least a year before they get to me. I don't know when they're going to get to me, so I'll be kind of on the waiting period. But in the meantime, it's deciding what do I want to replace this with and what does it look like. I'm not going to try and replicate what was here before. Whatever I put here will be able to be a sustainable home, one where I'm not worried about fire, which will be interesting to see what happens from an insurance standpoint, given the devastation and how much impact that's going to be on insurance companies, what they allow for a rebuild in this area given fire insurance, and the cost of fire insurance will probably go through the frickin' roof, and so we have to wait and see what that's like. But the only way that you can go through any of this is step by step, one foot in front of the other. Look at what you're presented, do your research, and try and make the best decision based on what's presented, and move towards what you want your eventual goal to be. And everyone's goal that's in the circumstance might be slightly different. Some may want to just sell the property for the land and take the money and go. And I don't know. I know my neighbor here to the west of me is planning to come back and rebuild. I have no idea about the person that owns this property because they were renters there too. I have no idea what they're going to do, whether they're interested in keeping the property and rebuilding. My guess is that it might become a property that is up for sale, that someone else will come back and build on it in some sort of fashion. But you don't know what the timeline is for that. Yeah. So ultimately it means that you may have a really amazing home amongst the rubble. These houses will be torn down and everything will be cleaned up. But then it will be just empty lots. And I'm not opposed to that.
And you for sure want to rebuild here?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was never a question for me. I love the area too much, and I love the memories that I have on this property. So, I want memories to be able to continue, and build something better. And that's doable. Dude, it's a trip to come down in a place like this when the house is on fucking fire. It was fucking hot. Oh, dude. It was just a yellow fucking flame. The whole backyard was absolutely torched. That house was completely torched. All the houses going east were completely torched. The back part of my house was torched. The house hadn't collapsed or anything yet. My office was still okay. It had really, nothing had started burning here. But then it's like, oh shit, there's nothing we can fucking do. Nothing.
Do you wish you had stayed like the neighbor? Is there any regret?
That's a fair question. I recognize that in order to save the house, the only way that that could be done is if I were here to protect the house, or I and somebody else were here to keep it watered down. I mean, given all the valuable things, or things that we were considered to be valuable, given that they were in the house and you would love to have them, keep them, from that standpoint, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not regretting the decision, right? Because you have to weigh the decision with, I believe that the only way for me to have saved my house is to be here to save the house. Am I willing to put my life in harm's way in order to save my house? I would like to think that for my family's sake and my parents' sake, that I would not value my house over my own safety. And that's what happened when we were here. I mean, we were here trying to put water on the fire. We didn't have enough water pressure in order to do so. And you realize it's gonna go. Then staying here is of no point, right? So we got in the car and hightailed it out, but with the knowledge that my parents had already lost their house. That house is already on the ground, and this was going to be in short order in the same position. So it's important for me to make sure that my daughter's safe, that I'm safe. No sense in adding to any of the other deaths that were here locally. No sense in adding to that. So, no, I don't regret the decision. It's really probably the smartest decision that I made. The difference between me and the neighbor across the street, who I now call the mayor of Deodara Street, is that he was here from the very beginning, and he was actively making sure that water was being put on his house to protect it. When I got here, my house and my backyard were already engulfed. There's just no way that I could have fought it. So it just didn't make sense for me to put anybody at risk trying to save something and end up with a partially burned home or whatever. That just didn't make any kind of feasible sense. So, life is much more important. And I am so, as I have little in terms of things, I can say that this incident has drawn the family closer together. And I'm appreciative of how close we've become given the tragedy. And we were already a close family. So it's not like we were randomly close and didn't like each other, whatever. Well, we love each other deeply and we hang out regularly, and that's just the nature of our family. But it's actually hard to imagine that we're able to actually, whatever spaces that were there, how they've been collapsed even tighter. And that's amazing. It's amazing. It's at the expense of all this shit, but family, dude, so fucking important, so powerful. And then the other part is that you realize your connection to community is beyond just your family. Like, how many people understand the magnitude of the tragedy and actively reach out to help, either with gifts of clothing and things to wear, to put on your back, shoes, money, toiletries, all those things that you take for granted that you need for your day-to-day existence. You have people that come out of the woodwork in support of you. You begin to realize that in some way, shape, or form, you've had some impact in the community to such a degree that they're willing to help you in this kind of time of need. And that shit is overwhelming. That's overwhelming. People that you don't even know. So my daughter's fairly quickly started a GoFundMe page. My daughter has a TikTok following and on Instagram, and she's a YouTube channel and blah blah blah. But when she said, this was my birthday and it's the worst birthday ever because my house burned down in the fire in Altadena, her community said, like, dude, if you don't immediately set up a GoFundMe page, you're crazy. So they put one up, and the response was crazy. I'm so thankful for those people that saw what happened and how devastating it was, and were willing to support GoFundMe and otherwise. I mean, hugs and love and kisses are just as welcome as any of those other financial means. But you just get surprised like how big the community actually is, and how network effects actually expand that and come to your aid in time of need. So it's a learning lesson for sure. That I will take as important. It affects the way you walk around in the world, right? You know? Yeah. How do you engage in the world, right? So you see the people reflecting back on you based on these circumstances. How do you make sure that you're in a position to do the same when the inevitable other crisis comes? It is coming. So, you know, for me, these things make my contributions to the world and the community that I'm involved in much more selfless. I have to take all those things into real consideration every day that I walk. Who am I and what's my relationship to the community? Out of tragedy comes some good shit, at least in theory. That's the way that's the way you want it to work. That's the way I plan to make it work. So what do you think of all the rubble, dude?
It fucks you up.
It fucks you up. That is the perfect phrase, man. It is a perfect fucking phrase. You right?
I'm just so sorry, dude.
You're good, man. You're good. You're good. I'm supposed to be the one crying in this shit. I was waiting for the cue, you know, you're gonna give me the symbol to cry and all that shit.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know, you know, I just feel like I've been struggling for months. Maybe I'm going into years now, but like, when you see this, it doesn't matter.
It puts things in perspective for sure.
What does your wrist say? What's the bracelet?
Oh, the bracelet says "We will rebuild." Fox's is a restaurant that's over here on Lake. A restaurant that my kids grew up in when they were young because it was kid friendly. We could go hang out and be there for a while and eat our food and then walk back home. We would do that on Sunday mornings. It was great. Fox's is owned by the restaurant in Eagle called Cindy's. And so as Fox's collapsed, Cindy's still is going, and they're trying to bring as many of the workers that were over at Fox's to pick up hours and shifts over at Cindy's. But the focus Cindy's gave me this. They knew that my house had burnt down, and they were kind enough to give me this thing to wear on my wrist. And so yeah, it's the reminder, daily reminder that I'm gonna be back. We will rebuild here. For sure.
How does this impact your day to day? Like what?
Oh, dude, it's bananas, right? So I work.
Hold on, it's not focusing. Oh, I need to start again. Of course, I don't even have insurance right now.
You don't have insurance?
No, I don't fucking afford anything right now.
Well, as soon as you can afford it, my friend.
Oh, you highly recommend it.
I highly recommend
You highly
it.
recommend insurance. It's just been so slow. It's hard to afford it. But you know, I know some talent that I worked with on a job, and things were slow for them like it was for me. They lived in the Palisades and they lost everything in they stopped paying their insurance before because work was slow.
Oh, fuck. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's real. That's real talk, man. You know?
How does this affect you? Like, what's your everyday like now compared to how it was before?
You're dealing with insurance company, trying to get documents over to FEMA. You're trying to find out where some of the additional benefits land, you know, so you hear about, you know, Walmart giving away $1,000 of gift cards per household. So you're like, oh, we probably should go stand in line for that, you know. The Fireman's Fund gave residents of the fire, you know, a gift card for $250. So we stood in line for that. You're applying for grants for like the art community. There's grants that are available to help those that have been devastated and affected by this, and so you apply for that. It's a lot of kind of application and scrounging for information. You know, what do I need to do in terms of my property taxes? Because the assessment of property is based on land and building. I ain't got a building, so what do we do now? So working through all of that stuff, and then, you know, lender stuff. I mean, it's a continual thing. My brother, who lives in Northern Cal, is super organized, and because he's distant, is able to kind of give my folks and us like the assignments of what we need to make work through. Yeah. So that's been super helpful. But I'm doing that in conjunction with what my day-to-day job normally would have been. Yeah. And the job has been adversely affected too. So I work 5 miles away from here at Art Center, and there's some students that have lost everything. You know, they may have, we have a photo student that lost everything, cameras and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, that adversely impacts people's ability to be at school and study and make work and hopefully get to a point of graduation. And because of the massive displacement of people needing spaces to live during the time that they're trying to rebuild or whatever, it means that available space for students to find places to live already in an area where the rent is fairly high, that becomes even more challenging because space is a premium, you know. So the ripple effects will be continuing and ongoing for some time, as I see it. So we'll see how this unfolds. But yeah.
So where was everything?
What was?
So what was what?
What was what?
What was everything?
So we're standing in the very backyard.
Got it.
This part was my office that burnt down. So that all my photo stuff and books and, you know, all that kind of stuff in there. Up here where the ladder was, you know, was actually leaning on the top part of the roof because I needed to go up there and clean some of the leaves so that we could actually make sure that the drains function properly.
Right.
It's funny that that's the only thing left standing, but yeah, this is the house proper. So this was the very front of my office right here. And so this is my daughter's bedroom. Bathroom next to it where you can kind of see the tile. Then next to that was the master bedroom and the bath. And then on that side towards the front where that large pile of metal stuff is, right next to that, about where that bush is where my other daughter's room was. Obviously the fireplace, that's the living room, and then directly across from that was the dining room. There's a lot of rubble to go through.
Is there anything you're hoping to find?
I don't have any expectations of finding anything that is intact.
Is there one thing you think about the most?
No. I don't. I don't think about anything the most. I only think about it when it kind of resurfaces in my mind. Someone remembers something and I go, oh shit. But I'm not thinking about that.
Right.
I'm really trying to figure out what is in here, even in its collapsed and destroyed state, that I can use as a memory of this event. Because eventually this is all going to be cleared out and gone.
Right. Do you have a certain, so you don't know any like timeline or anything like that?
No, I don't expect that we will be really putting any formal build here for at least 2 years.
Right.
That's my guess. If it's earlier than that, then great. But that's my outside guess, just based on kind of things that I hear. And then the question is, once it's out for 2 years, one of the neighbors down at the end of the street, once you start the build, the question is, what's the build time to completion and occupancy? And that's the thing I don't know. I don't know. Is it start building in 6 months, you're ready to kind of move in? That'll be fucking awesome. But I don't know. I don't know. I am mentally prepared for it to be about 2.5 years. If it happens sooner, fantastic. But given the scale, I'm anticipating that it might go beyond 2.5 years. So it's when you assurance, it gives you an allotment of money to spend on secondary housing during this time. And so,
But how did that work out? Where are you?
I'm down. First, we evacuated. We went down to my ex's house in South Pass. My kids are still there. My parents and I have moved off-site, and we are in Monterey Park in a hotel until we can figure out the next landing spot. We have been given some very generous offers, but part of it is that don't want to have to move too many times. Even though we don't have much, it's a pain in the ass.
Right.
So we're gonna find a place that will allow us to kind of be where we know we can be there for the extended amount of time that's going to require to build, and that's tied to the allotment of insurance money that's associated with it. So somewhere we hope that we won't run out of money.
Right.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get to that. We're resourceful. There will be a solution. We'll figure that shit out. So,
Have you been inside that area?
I've been in parts of it. I found 2 pieces that one my daughter wanted, which was a teacup that she had gotten from her boyfriend, and so it was cracked and broken, but I got that for her, so she had that. And my ex saw a cup that she had from a tea set that was given to her by her family in the UK, and so I got that. But I have not taken a shovel to dig deep into anything yet.
Right.
And to be honest, kind of looking forward to that part, because there's going to be some nasty ass trash in there that's going to make an amazing picture. So my goal is, as I find stuff, is to take it. I'm going to set out a mini available light studio out here in the backyard, and I want to shoot it here. Right. Some stuff I will take and do a different thing inside the studio, but I want to be able to kind of find it, collect it. I bought a bunch of storage bins that I'm going to put stuff in, and then come back out here and just set up the computer, set up the cameras, and just begin to make some stuff. And it's important for me to make stuff that is stuff that I owned, as opposed to going to other people's yards and scavenging stuff that didn't belong to me because I have no memory or tie to it. So this is largely about the things that have materialized out of the tragedy that were part of my family and making images of that. So, yeah, I'm honestly, that's the part that I'm looking forward to. As crazy as that may seem, like, there's some beautiful shit, bro. Like, this was a table saw, not a table saw, but a circular saw. Right. It's fucking beautiful. Fucking beautiful. So it's like shit like that I know if you dig around enough, you'll find some stuff that looks really pretty cool. And then it's about how you make it look interesting, a representation of what the experience is, or the tragedy, or the newness of what that thing has become. Like all this shit here, all these little wires, those are all wires from inside the tires that I would photograph for my tire series.
Oh, wow.
It's like approximately where some stuff should be, but just because of all the stuff that has fallen, and there's stuff in here, you're like, what the fuck is this? I don't know where that came from. There's some thick ass piece of, oh, I know what that fucking is. I know what that is. Okay. Cool. I'll make some erector shit, building shit out of that to photograph. That was my stand for all my audio equipment. On top of that was a machinist granite stone that was 2 inches thick. So those pieces are the remnants of that granite stone. Be getting so hot and falling over, just completely shattered. Interesting. Again, it's like you come across that shit, you go, first you got to figure out what the fuck it is. And then you can go, okay, well, how do I make something really interesting out of this shit? And, yeah. It's like we had a 50s Wedgwood, old school kind of oven that is, it's over there somewhere. I think that might be it. But can't rebuild that shit. That ain't be rebuildable. That's impossible. So, yep, I might start doing a little excavation tomorrow. We'll see how I feel. But man, this shit burnt down to the core.
Does anything make you laugh?
I laugh all the fucking time, bro.
Right, but what thoughts or moments makes you laugh?
Usually it's not laughing about this. I love dark humor, but I don't know that I've gone and said anything specific about this that make me go, oh, that's so fucking funny.
Right, but the moments where you're like, there was stuff that you were gonna do or like something you were gonna fix, and you're like, you don't gotta fucking worry about that anymore.
Well, occasionally you'll go, yeah, it's like the girls and I were in the process of clearing out. We had made done major work in the backyard, clearing it out, and so that we can kind of decide exactly how we were going to redo it. And it's cleared out. I don't have to do it anymore. It's like, oh, if I knew it was that fucking easy. But no, it's yeah, we don't, I'm generally not laughing that much about it. I have thoughts sometimes about how the destruction actually happened. What collapsed first? Where did the fire start in the house and then spread to? I think about that. I've even envisioned myself inside the house, kind of seeing what the fire may have looked like. I've thought about that.
Do you have any nightmares about?
No, I haven't had any nightmares yet. I have had one dream so far where it was very clear that it was about the fire, but I wasn't in harm's way, and but it's more about the aftermath more than anything else. I expect at some point, I might have a nightmare or dream, I mean, I took some pictures and video on my phone of when I was here, and my daughter and I were trying to put some water on the fire. I have a few small short images of that, or a few images of that.
This is our backyard. This is our backyard. And it's still on fire. Unfucking believable. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm so happy that I have family that I love and people that care. I'm coming. Still on fire. This whole street gone. Only 2 houses remaining because of the vigilance of 2 people. Able to stay and save and make it work and make it happen. I love your house. I always loved you. You made us seem like it. But I always loved you.
So it's easy for me to go back and look at those and reflect on the moment and be there in that moment. But yeah, I haven't had nightmares yet. My parents' experience was different. I knew that their house had burned to the ground prior to coming to my house, and then after Taylor and I left here and went back down to Judy's house, my ex, where we were all staying, I knew about their house, and I knew what eventually was going to happen to this house, and I told my parents. So they then knew that the house is gone, but we had been through a similar situation 30 years ago. Fire up in the Eaton Canyon, coming down, being at a position to evacuate my folks, but not having to evacuate. So you go, we'll be okay. We'll come back in a day or 2 and we'll be fine. But the difference was we didn't have fucking 100-mile-an-hour winds then.
Right.
It may have been 40-mile-an-hour or whatever. It wasn't this. And we didn't have a simultaneous huge ass fire over the Palisades, which strained the whole entire LA County system in terms of fire response. So that's with the winds going like they did. That's where it all went haywire. There was not enough people to combat fire and wind of that magnitude. It's like I heard someone say the other day. A friend from work said, "It's like fucking dragon came through and just lit the shit up." I'm like, I'm not a Game of Thrones guy, but like I get that analogy, man.
Right.
It's like The dragon got angry and said, I'm gonna take your asses out because you pissed me off, people. And it made waste. It made fucking waste. You can't fuck with ceramic. That shit ain't burning. It's like, I've been in fire harder than your ass. Fuck you. Yep. Plenty of shit to find. Put that there for safekeeping. Let's see, this is for the neighbor's house. It's like, obviously it's unsafe.
See, that's funny. That you have to laugh at. Can't just like...
You know, I get it. Regulation says you need to make sure that people know that it's not safe. Hello? This shit's fucked up. Not habitable.
Were any neighbors here have like neighbor wars or anything like that?
Neighbor wars?
Well, you know, like where they just fight about stupid shit?
Oh, no, man. Can't say that at all. Can't say that at all. If we didn't know each other really well, we knew each other well enough to be able to say hi as in passing or whatever. My kids grew up with the kids that are now living here, so they knew them, and we're in dialogue back and forth because... So there's an article in the LA Times that talks about evacuation on the east side of Lake and the evacuation that was pushed out on the west side of Lake. East side of Lake is more of the wealthy residents, white residents predominantly. My folks happen to live over there, but they got evacuation notices that were way earlier than what's happening here. The evacuation notice for west of Lake, I want to say happened around 3:30, somewhere between 3:30 and 5:30 in the morning. By the time that I came back here to my house, it was about a little after, it was between 6:45 and 7 o'clock. And that end of that part of from El Molino over here was already torched. So it would have given people very little time to actually get their shit together and get out. You know, and so when you think about how Altadena has been divided largely by Lake Avenue, which kind of defined the wealthy from the middle class and maybe some that are not so wealthy, and then you look at how the timeline was in terms of evacuation notices, you go, that's some fucked up shit, you know? So, I don't know. That's interesting looking at how various properties kind of imploded. There seems to be a lot more rubble inside of our house than others. Maybe it's just distributed it differently. I don't know. It's weird. They're fucking three of their 4 walls are still fucking standing. You know? Chimneys are always the things that stand, right? Because their chimney brick is built to withstand fire. So I get that. So
don't they make fire with brick or brick with fire?
Yeah, but there's a particular type of brick that they use for chimneys, I think. But they're wiring up everything, right? That's a brand new motherfucking transformer up there.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right.
You know, so pretty soon they'll be able to switch, flip the switch and get power to folk. When you drive up here at night, this place is largely dark.
I'm sure.
So people that may have homes here are displaced.
What were some of the first things you did
after realizing that I had no house?
Yeah.
Be thankful that I had a family safe and sound. First thing. No, without a doubt. After that, I have nothing. I've got a bag worth of clothes that's now expanded to 2 bags worth of shit. I don't like the rate of growth personally. I started thinking about pictures I can make immediately. Because I like looking at this kind of shit anyway, so it makes sense for me to want to make pictures of it. And so I was in conversation with a friend. I was telling her, like, yeah, you know, texting back and forth, like, yeah, I'm an instant minimalist, you know. So if you were to go in my office at school or my office here, it's got a lot of shit in there. Right. Some might call me a hoarder of sorts. I think that's a very harsh term. But now I don't have it. So I'm bare bones, right? And after I said it, I was like, oh shit, instant minimalist is kind of dope. So I went online and found that instantminimalist.com was available. No one has captured it as a domain. So I nabbed it. And then went on Instagram and nabbed. There was instant minimalist on Instagram. So I did _instant minimalist so I could capture that. So I captured that. And now it's just like, what's the play for me to maximize visibility and exposure about the tragedy that's happened here, all shedding light on some, hopefully, what people might think will be interesting and beautiful, you know, artwork. That's the goal. I mean, like, you know, I'm looking across to where, see, that would be the border of my youngest daughter's bedroom. So there's a rail that goes up, and then a bush, and then the foundation. Flopping over the foundation is the stucco from the wall. That's beautiful. That's fucking gorgeous. Yeah. So that's an instant picture. I'm all up on that shit. You know, there's a lot of beautiful things that can be taken in abstraction, and that will lend itself to being absolutely stunning. And that's the goal. That's the goal. It's gonna be largely a still life project with just still life shit that I find. So, time to get hard drives ready, start filling them up, and you know, I'm working on trying to develop relationships with outside companies that will help support the project. So we put those asks in and see if we're able to kind of generate any interest and see if they're interested in supporting what this can eventually be, and go from there. You want to take my car and drive around and see some shit?
Yeah, let's go see some shit.
Okay.
That is insane.
Yeah, this was a huge apartment complex.
Wow.
All of it. This was, you know, like this building over here. You didn't have this kind of view of being able to look into the Pasadena because there's so many of these things that were just there, blocking the view. This was the hardware store. Greatest hardware store is like, you know, you need something quick, go to, you know, Ace Hardware and they'd have the shit, you know. It's like, not only is it burnt down, but everybody that was depending on that for jobs.
Right.
It's sayonara, you know. It's like this whole street, boom, it's all done. I haven't even been down that street. Devonshire Lane.
It's a really narrow street. Or lane, I guess.
So these are all the houses that are above my block.
Right.
This greenhouse is the house that's directly across the street from me. So I think that they lost their garage.
Got it. But all these houses up behind you
Yeah.
are fine. How did they get to you? That's so crazy. How did that get?
So you have winds
Which way were they blowing?
going this way, going down. So, but it's about how the embers are traveling inside the wind. So you get a gust of wind that throws. They were saying embers the size of like lemons and oranges.
Oh, really?
So when we often think of embers, we think those little things that you might see by the fire,
Right.
when the wood cracks, whatever, and you're like, oh, that's an ember. Well, it is, but think of these 100 times the size of those flying, and they were saying that the embers could fly up to a half a mile.
Right.
So depending on the wind pattern, where that ember is going to go, where it's going to land. When I first started traveling down this street, well, I should say that, when we left my parents' house, the devastation was really minimal. And so you got this sense that like my parents' house was the only house in the neighborhood that lost anything. And then as we started making our way towards the west side of Altadena, you could see just how the impact just spread in magnitude. And that both sides of the street might be, the areas are completely torched and completely lost.
You can even see the fire retardant on the house.
Yeah. When I went to get the girls and my parents, so we took all our cars. We didn't park we didn't leave anything. So we have all our cars. We don't have to worry about cars. Everybody got laptops and their computers. I didn't get my tower. I'm hoping that it's a beautiful melted mess, which I'll take a photograph of. But we left relatively functional. We didn't have a lot of clothes, but we had enough clothes and underwear and change of clothes and stuff like that. So it wasn't like we left just with the clothes on our back. But so many just were able just to get out with just the shit that they got out with. Then you have a situation where houses on the other side of that house are completely gone, or on the side of this house they're completely gone, and just a couple standing, All right, then I will go. Oh, we're good. Power lines are still down everywhere. It's they're going through on the vehicles. They're writing on spray painting on it whether it's an electric vehicle or not, right? Because
it could explode.
Well, because of the lithium batteries.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're toxic.
Yeah, toxic. Yeah, for sure. And they burn like an intense heat. Fire came all the way over here, dude. I mean, I literally thought when I left that I was most likely going to be coming back to a house. I had no idea that the fire would get to my house, and then subsequently continue all the way over here. Because where the fire, I'll take you where the fire started. I'll look at the odometer so we can actually see what the distance is, but it traveled. It just fucking traveled. It's like, I've got a fucking passport. I'm going on a big ass road trip, and it just took shit out. A lot of these homes are relatively old. Like my house was a 1927 house, so it's been through all the earthquakes since 1927 that have been around here. Survived, foundation, no problem. But the fire codes were very different then. You know.
I mean, did you think being 2 miles from the base of the mountain that a fire would ever reach you?
No, of course not. My parents, and we'll drove by where my folks live, but the house is like 1/8 of a mile, 1/4 of a mile away from where the fire comes up from Eaton Canyon to start. So they were close. And but the fires that we've had in the past were like, okay, well the fire's here, but the fire department was always able to minimize the damage. Like they really put up a front so it wouldn't cross Altadena Drive and then move its way east or move its way west. This was a whole different beast.
So you've never had winds like this before, ever?
No, we've had. So 11 years ago, 12 years ago, there was a huge windstorm. It was the Santa Ana winds came, and we had 100 plus mile an hour winds that were gusting. I mean, you see these concrete kind of light posts?
Right.
Those, we saw instances where those had snapped in that windstorm, but there wasn't a fire.
Wow.
So we've had winds. We've had 60 mile an hour gusts. That's yeah, we're used to it. We've even had 40 and 50 mile an hour gusts when there was a fire, but the fire department was able to put up a line and make sure that it didn't cross from the canyon over into the homes. Some of the homes that are right on the edge of the canyon, they got torched. But this, when you have gusts up to 100 miles an hour and it's throwing embers as far as a half a mile, it's hard. It's hard to really do battle against that.
What was the death toll out here?
I think 28 total. I think 17 in just the Altadena Eaton fire. But all of the death toll was on the west side of Lake.
Where they were behind on letting people know when they could leave?
Correct. None of the systems were ever built or prepared for this magnitude of devastation. Not enough fire help would ever be able to, keep all this shit from burning. More fire people would have helped for sure, but the way that it just roared through everything, very little really could be done. You're really at the mercy of Mother Nature and the fire. It's like this whole block, dude, from this street up to that street, above it, everything, all the way over. Look at that. That's all fucking done. Like this section just got devastated.
You ever eat there?
No, my kids have and said it was actually pretty good.
I got Humvees and the whole thing, huh?
Yeah, so the first 2 days after the fire, it was easy to get up and get to your property and look around. But during that time, most of the shit was still smoldering. When I came back, the first video I did, in the video you can see that there's still, my office is still fucking on fire.
Yeah.
And so to keep looters out, after those 2 days, they locked the shit down. So they asked the National Guard to come and lock it down. Oh wow, these places are just done. This is the other thing that's interesting to me. It's like you'll see a lot of these trees that actually have fruit still on them. I want to do some pictures of just those trees that have fruit. Those are fucking beautiful. This is a natural disaster, so there's some things that just happen because the way the world and the winds and the fire worked all simultaneously. But in the world, people make choices. They make choices of making a good choice or a bad choice. So I don't know that there's not a God, but if there's a God there that allows us to make choices that are good choices and bad choices. So that's the way I think about it.
School?
Yeah, Elliott Middle School was an arts magnet school. Had a great theater program. I'm so used to driving by these houses and like, fuck, there's literally nothing here.
I mean, the weird thing I feel like mentally is like when you live right next to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're fine.
Mm-hmm. Relatively fine. I mean,
like, are they coming back to this? Or are they, like, how does that work? I mean, what do you do when your backyard is literally everybody else's devastation and you literally have years of construction and toxic, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, if your house didn't burn down and you can't go back to it because there's no power and there's toxic chemicals in the air because everybody's doing construction, like, are you fucked? Or does your insurance kick in?
Well, your insurance should be able to kick in to a point. It's all relative to the type of insurance, the quality of insurance that you have as to how much the insurance is going to kick in. Insurance companies are fucked.
I mean, this isn't gonna, I don't see how this is streamlined without any government assistance for sure, right? Is that?
For government insurance, for sure. But, the government's assistance has caps. Like.
Federal?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're gonna...
Per household or just like...
Per household, per how many people are in the house, per the size of the house, how many rooms. So what the federal government does, what FEMA does, is they will backfill what your insurance doesn't cover.
Got it.
So you need to give them a declaration of what your insurance coverage is, and then based on that, they'll kick in money towards it. But even that has a cap, so it won't be like you only had this, and so we'll fill in all the rest.
Right.
So they go, we'll fill in all the rest up to this amount of money. And then when we give you the money, as you start drawing down the money, you need to show receipts for every bit that you bought with that money, so that we can make sure that you're not scamming. Unbelievable, man. This is an improvement. They've got actual flashing lights here. Those lights haven't been flashing for a fucking minute. More National Guard. But dude, it was before they had roped off Altadena, like from that street we were just on, is New York Drive. Everything from there up to the mountains, they had put yellow tape on. And at every intersection were sheriffs and National Guard. They had locked the shit down. They were not letting anybody in.
You know what's interesting? I noticed this right when I started filming, because I always think about like editing and stuff like that. Every time, and it's not the first time I've filmed you. Every time I film you, when we interview style or whatever, we always stutter. You didn't stutter one fucking bit.
Really?
Really.
I do stutter a lot, don't I?
Yeah, but you know, you do the. You didn't do that at all. At all.
That's funny.
I don't want to bring it up because the viewers don't know you like I know you, but like,
Yeah.
I was almost like wanted to ask you, like, is this a moment of clarity for you? Like, is everything clear now and defined in terms of like this one fucking house is like fucking just gone?
That's my parents' house.
Shut up.
That's it.
The whole thing, their house, it's like it was picked out of fucking.
Just about. I'll show you where a few other houses kind of burned, but for the most part, most of the houses are really pretty okay. I don't know exactly what the tower, but somewhere up here is where shit started. I think it was those towers up there. You know, so like right up there.
Right.
So I think that's where it started. The winds and the high power lines, and it dropped. The fire started and it came down. And this is the intersection where like it came up from the canyon and came from right at Midwick and Altadena Drive, which is right where we are right now. So that house burned.
Right.
And then the house behind me burned.
So it just traveled all the houses there, it looks like.
Pardon me?
It's just so nuts. Because you can see almost, I mean, it didn't go all the way to the top there, did it?
It went pretty much up there because it started encroaching on Mount Wilson.
Right. Okay.
So this was already a barn ready to burn. That burned down. Then this house across the street burned down, but the house right in front of it didn't burn. So this got torched. The house next to it got burnt, but the house next to that didn't. I can't see enough of this house to know whether it was affected because it's behind a gate, and so I really don't know. But most of the houses here,
Oh, that's fine.
yeah, it looks like it's all intact,
Good seeing.
right? So
They probably just blew it that far.
yeah, so the embers, like I'm gonna lob some ember shit over these houses, and it's gonna land wherever it lands, and it's gonna burn whatever it fucking burns. So we'll go up. You'll see these houses. So
This is kind of fucking crazy.
yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy.
Like they're still home. They're all fucking.
Oh yeah, they're not able to stay in them, but yeah.
Oh, they can't stay here.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Oh,
A lot of them don't have power. Some of the electrical grid hasn't been. So
Is there a valley behind here?
yeah, right over here, and my parents' property is shaped like a pie wedge. So their property is nestled in the back over here, and so like the embers from this, and the embers from all these things, pushed over into where my parents' place is.
Crazy. It just skipped some houses.
Yeah,
Absolutely nuts.
completely. First, I thought that my parents' house was the only house in the neighborhood that got it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that the stuff at top of Serial Lane, where those three houses, I didn't realize that they had burned, because all I was seeing was my neighbor's house, my parents' neighbor's house, and to the east and the west, and to the south and the southwest, and that my parents was the only one that went up like a fucking Roman candle.
That's crazy. And both houses on each side are totally
Yeah.
fine.
So when my parents first saw the house, they were standing in front of it and all that kind of stuff. Me and the girls drove up with Judy, and we all got in our cars, and they followed us over to my place. So we come up the street, and they're looking around, and they're seeing everything looks fucking normal. All these big houses are fine. Everything is fine, you know? So you really feel like you're one of the only people that just got pummeled with the fire. So we come up here and everything's still fine. I'm looking just like normal. Like we travel these streets all the time. So we're expecting to see just normal shit. So then we come to Allen and we make a right on my way to my house. So we come up here, we make a right. And then we make a left here in Mendocino. So still you're looking like, yeah, normal.
Right.
Everything looks exactly as it's supposed to. And then you drive down the street. And you're going, yeah, fuck. And then you start seeing this shit. And you're like, oh my God.
Where it just opens up?
Yeah, it's coming up like some of the house burned over here. Some of these had been remodeled recently, so once they remodel, they get a different code. So these two were done. Then to the left, they're done. And as we're driving by, everything is still smoldering, and you're seeing fires because the gas hasn't been cut off. So there's fires burning up everywhere. And then this went down, but the new construction didn't. That went down, and then on the left, on the right, everything's going down. So then you're just taking in the magnitude of the devastation. You're like, what the fucking hell?
And then realizing it goes on for just...
Yeah, so you're like, this house is gone. Then we come up to the golf course. So when we came up to the golf course, there was a building right here, and that was just pumping out big ass flames. And you're like, fuck. And because it was windy, we had to go around some trees that were in front of in the road. So that shit hadn't been cleared out yet. And then you start looking to the left and right, and you go, shit. More devastation, more devastation, more devastation, more devastation. So my kids, because they walk around this neighborhood a lot, and they know a lot of the owners and the people that own these homes, and they're going, fuck. You know, they had friends whose house burned down, you know, all. And as we start moving more, you just see it flatter and flatter.
Right,
and
you're seeing more and more.
Some houses have different color tags on it, which, you know, indicate like partial burn, or, you know, it's able to be occupied, but, you know, clearly things need to be cleaned up, you know, all that kind of shit.
Right, there's foxes you were talking about.
Yeah. Love fucking foxes. Like this apartment complex is still standing. The apartment complex that was next to it, just done. Ain't nothing there. That little place down there is still standing. This place on the corner is still standing. It looks like they had maybe a little bit of fire damage. Whether it can be occupied again, I don't know. This one's still standing. And then we come up to my block and you go, oh shit, it's flat over there.
I imagine once you lose everything, do you ever think about or wish that you had done your life differently before this happened?
Not at all.
No?
Nope. No.
You don't wish you were like a painter in Spain or Madrid or...
Say it again?
You don't wish you were like a painter in Madrid, Spain or something?
No, fuck no, bro.
Or that you were
I'm in the spot I'm supposed to be, doing the things I'm supposed to do. I'm throwing some fucking wrenches, and I gotta catch that wrench in the air and throw it back. No, it's something that happened. Do I wish it happened? No, because of the tragedy that's not only for me but for my family, and all the surrounding individuals that suffer from this thing. But No, I don't wish that my life was different. It's a fucking inconvenience, don't get me wrong. But again, me and my girls certainly are of mine, like, in this motherfucking tragedy, what is the opportunity? And that's the direction I'm headed. I'm not looking to wallow in this shit. I'm looking to make something good come out of it. What's the bigger picture? How can I make something good come out of this thing? For me, my girls, my parents, community, all that stuff. That's what I think about now.
If people want to support you, where can they donate?
We have a GoFundMe page, for sure. You know, the GoFundMe page is really there to support for the gaps that insurance is going to miss. The GoFundMe page is for both my folks and our homes. So the two homes are one GoFundMe page. Yeah.
Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so they can find me at Everard_Williams on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I have a Substack page called Light and Storytelling. I'm starting a new Instagram page largely about this called Instant Minimalist. And on Instagram, that's _instant minimalist, all one word. On Instagram, there's nothing there yet, but as I start making work and videos about this and the process and the images and what we're doing, you'll find that there. And then there will be also a corresponding website called instantminimalist.com, and that will be launching soon once we get stuff content to put on it and we build it out. So yeah, again, looking to make something interesting happen that might benefit others, bring kind of visibility to the tragedy that's happened to the community in Altadena. One of the things that's come out of this whole tragedy is, you know, I had mentioned before that I've been here for 55 years, and I knew that the Altadena as a town was very well integrated, you know, black, white, brown, but I did not know until things came out about from this experience how influential Altadena was in terms of supporting the black community and giving them opportunity to buy homes because of redlining in various districts in LA. So I want to make sure that those things don't change. I want Altadena to still be a haven for black and brown community. That's important. And so I want to encourage everyone that is contemplating leaving that, you know, hopefully reconsider. It's important for us to have a place where we can call home and support our families and create generational wealth. So that's the other thing.
Well, I'd say thanks for letting me in your home, but
yes, well, you've been in my home before, but this is a
No,
different...
you never actually let me inside. That's what's fucking annoying. Like, I'd never actually, like, I was in your office over there to, like, help you retouch some stuff. Like, hey, you know, same shit usually. Hey, man, I fucked up this shot. Can you fix it for me? That type of shit, but wasn't allowed in... Oh, no, I did. Actually, yeah, I remember.
You used the bathroom?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm a dick.
I allowed you in to use the bathroom.
Wait, I'm going to take a picture of you right there for the end. But in the meantime, you know, thank you for allowing people who, including myself, who have no idea how to comprehend something like this.
I don't know that anybody can really comprehend it. You know, it's like you look at the devastation in Gaza and you see the drone footage and you see just how devastating it is. It is a completely different experience on screen than it is in person. And not that I want to invite a whole onslaught of looky-loos to come through, but to really understand the magnitude, you need to be here. You know, and even if you just come to one spot, it doesn't give you the whole... You just don't know just how much devastation there really is. It's absolutely unbelievable. And being a longtime resident in Altadena, it hits home in a particular kind of way. But I think even if you're not from the community here, driving through and seeing just the level of devastation, it's not just 1, 2, or 3 houses. It is, what I last heard was a number of like 8,000 or 9,000 plus structures, of which 6,000 to 7,000 were individual homes. So you think about the families that are now displaced and trying to find a place to make a home so that they can, you know, reduce the anxiety so that they begin to make decisions that are going to be appropriate for their families. It's a lot of displacement and uncertainty for sure. And people are suffering, man. People are fucking suffering.
And on that note, that's a wrap.
Cool. I'm going to be back. We will rebuild here for sure.